In previous videos, we have talked about meta contracts, which are core smart contracts that implement various blockchain features. Today, you will see a demo of a Python interpreter contract integrated by the WasmX system that makes Python a first-class smart contract language. You can write smart contracts in Python now, and the execution is deterministic because the Python interpreter itself is a WebAssembly module. You can use these Python contracts as any other contracts in our WasmX system with both MetaMask and Kepler wallets, and they can interact with other types of smart contracts on the same chain with our eWasm contracts and with our CosmWasm contracts. And this is an example of a simple storage contract written in Python where we can store a variable and then we can read it. And the contract has two entry points, which is the instantiate function and the main function. The instantiate function runs when the smart contract is instantiated, so only once. And then further execution is done through the main function. And now the demo. This is a dApp where we can upload our Python code in this editor, instantiate it as a contract, and then interact with it. And I am running a local chain here that has support for the Python interpreter. And I will be using the Kepler wallet for this demo, which is already connected to our local Mythos chain. Now I have some Python code in this online Python IDE that works, and we will take this and then copy it here. It is the smart contract that you've seen earlier in the presentation with an instantiate function, a main function that can store and load a variable from the contract storage. And now we give the instantiation arguments, which for this example is just an empty array. We instantiate the contract, which is a transaction for storing the actual code of the contract, and we can view the data here for this transaction. And after that transaction goes through, we are instantiating the smart contract. And we can see the transaction receipt for the upload transaction, which gives us a code ID, the code ID of 27, and then the instantiate transaction receipt, which gives us the contract address. With this contract address that was already added here, now we can execute and query the contract. So we will use the store function, and for this we will write here as execution arguments store and then the inputs for store, let's say hello. We are executing this, and this is a Cosmos message execute contract from our WasmX module. And this is the execution receipt. We can actually get this transaction hash, go into an explorer for our local chain, search for the transaction, and see it here. And let's now query the variable to see if the chain has stored our hello. For this, we will use the load function without any arguments and use the query. And we have the data from the blockchain, which is hello. And we can repeat the same thing. Let's try another variable. You say goodbye. I say hello. We do another execute transaction. And then another query. And we have our data has been changed. The Python interpreter is just one example of a WasmX meta contract. Our WasmX system is extensible to other compiled and interpreted languages on Wasm.